Inilah voice note penutupan aku. Okay, tak payah panjang-panjang. Why? Because I said everything and everything to the letter exactly happen. Sama juga. Betul-betul jadi. So, what is the defense about untuk orang yang tak tahu? Najib started off, masa dia kena tuduh dulu sebagai Prime Minister, he came out with his Arabian fairy tale. Bila orang tanya, dia kata none of anybody's business. Betul dia kata tak masuk. Bila dah kena corner, dah ada duit situ, dia kata Royal Saudi bagi dia duit. Dia come up with that bullshit story, and reason pun macam-macam reason. Ada untuk defend Islam lah, untuk hadiah pada dia lah, suka dia lah, all kinds of things. Menteri-menteri semua come up with all kinds of stories. Zahid pun dah konon jumpa orang yang bagi dia donation. So menipu saja. Why? Because they were in power. Nobody can check them, nobody can question them, and they never thought they would ever fall out of power. Tapi little did they realize, Allah Maha Berkuasa, when the time came, they became dethroned, and Pakatan Harapan took over, and therefore the system of justice works again. And yang mana yang Apandi kata tak guilty tu, masuk Tommy Thomas, dapat semua evidence, money trail established, documents, witnesses, and the charge was framed, and he was charged in court, in the High Court. Jadi what did the... Remember, orang semua complain, lamanya nak tunggu, bila nak charge Najib ni, bila nak... Well, people were doing their job. They need to be foolproof. Kalau tidak, boleh dapat ke conviction today? Takkan. So people can do all the homework. So therefore, the prosecution did their homework. They go through every single detail, and every assertion of theirs is backed up by money trail, by documents, by witnesses. Everything checks out, and their story is beyond dispute and is tak boleh nak attack, cannot be attacked. It is foolproof. Okay, now what does Najib punya team buat? The defense got no choice, but they are now encumbered, they are constrained by the Arabian tales. So therefore they bring the Arabian tales, this, that, all these things. Nothing of their narratives, of the defense narratives, is backed up by any money trail, any documents to substantiate, and any witness to testify. Tak ada. There is none. So therefore, defense had no... They didn't have any defense. So bila bagi kat Justice Nazlan is meticulous. He went through every single detail, all through the 7 charges, and therefore he made an informed judgment, and he convicted Najib of all 7 charges. Done. All 7 charges and 800 over pages, because everything checks out. And with each conviction, each verdict, there is lengthy legal argument, and all are solid, which is what even the Court of Appeal judges said about Nazlan punya verdict. It is solid, nothing is impeccable. This was brought to the appeals court. When it was brought to the appeals court, apa Najib punya defense tried? What did Shafi try to do? Try to show that the judge is incompetent, because at that point in time dia tak ada bahan-bahan lagi nak fitnah Nazlan. So dia kata incompetent, he should not even make prima facie case in the first place. This is what they are saying. And why Justice Nazlan even heard when to hear this the case, for what? Jadi the way they were talking to the 3 judges, the 3 court appeal judges, look, you are learned, more learned, higher court judges, please see the flaw and the incompetency of this lower court judge, which is Nazlan, and you guys know better, and you should agree with us. Itu they went on that basis, on that flavor with the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal did not even appreciate that. They went through, they studied Nazlan punya judgment, they saw what the prosecution adduced, they also studied and analysed the defense punya narratives, and they also came to the same finding. Generally, defense are just bullshitting and cannot back up any of their claims. The prosecution asserted everything, and they've been consistent, and everything is fully backed up. Everything checks out. So therefore, came to the Court of Appeal. 3 judges also came up with a verdict on all 7 charges, another 21 verdicts. So at that point of time, dah ada 21 verdik campur Nazlan punya verdik 7, 28 decisions and verdicts saying that Najib is guilty. At that point of time, Najib punya defense team give up. They cannot break 28 verdicts, solid legal arguments. With what? They have nothing. Dia Arabian Tales punya story, dia the Jolo manipulating Najib, menipu Najib. When earlier Najib tried to protect Jolo and tried to erase Jolo from even audit report. So it doesn't check out. The behavior is conflicting. So therefore, the defense had nothing. At that point of time, Shafi and Najib decided they need a different strategy. They cannot argue on the case anymore. They cannot win on that legal battlefront. What they have got to aim for now, because they know if they take it to the federal court, it will be upheld. It will be. The 5 judges will see through, will see 4 convincing arguments by the 4 judges, and they will all unanimously uphold. I said it even at that point of time. They given up. So therefore, they decided to try something brilliant, something out of the box. Let's go after Nazlan. They concoct a fitnah on him. They said that he's on the take, that he got 1 million guna RPK from UK, that is untouchable there, and make that statement and buat lodge police MACC report. MACC report punya chief also collaborate and facilitate, declare awal-awal yang yes, we are investigating Justice Nazlan, and Justice Nazlan to check, and we're doing this investigation. Jadi bila orang tengok, hui, Justice Nazlan ni being investigated by MACC, possible on the take, this create a very conducive ambience for Najib to now allege that he is being mistreated and injustice is inflicted upon him. Jadi Najib decided to go on that trajectory, and they tried this. But with this investigation, Money Trail can tell whether or not Nazlan ada that 1 million or not. Dia tried every way. Dia bukan check tu saja, dia check semualah dalam akaun Nazlan semua, hoping that Nazlan receive some ill-gotten gain somewhere. Problem is Nazlan ni clean as a whistle. Apa pun tak jumpa. Cari ke punya cari, duk cari lagi sampai sekarang. Cari ke punya cari, tak jumpa lagi. They cannot close the case because they want to try to facilitate Najib. Tapi tak boleh. So therefore eventually they have to close the case. Now because before, kalau dia close the case, maknanya itu satu penipuan dan Najib nampak jahat. So that's why Najib sendiri withdraw the bid. Why? Because they got something else. They got history of Nazlan working for Maybank. And because of that, they kata Nazlan conflicted. Which to me, what has Nazlan punya counsel, punya job and being involved in Maybank got to do with the crime he committed in SRC? Apa kena-mengena? They may have facilitated the setting up of SRC. They may have provided the loan for SRC. What's wrong with that? There was nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with creation of SRC. What is wrong is plundering the funds thereof. So therefore, that plundering has got nothing to do with Nazlan punya involvement in Maybank. Why should he declare that? Why should he recuse himself that? It doesn't satisfy the law requirement. So they tried to attack that, and they decided to build on that, and this is when dia dengan Shafi, Najib and Shafi decided, we have to change our team. We cannot no longer argue on this Arabian Tales. It's been torn into tatters now. So what should we do now? We build a case now about Nazlan. The whole appeal to federal court, as far as Najib is concerned, is to talk about how fraud and how fraud the proceeding of the High Court is, where a judge that is conflicted had heard the case. Maknanya they want to go for a mistrial and to say that there's a problem with the system of justice. No longer about the case anymore. It's about the system of justice they were trying to attack. So they wanted to do that, and Maimun and all the other judges semua saw exactly what's happening. They knew the angle that it was coming from. So he tried to do that. Therefore come up, and bila sampai masa tu appeal, lepas dia dah submit appeal tu, baru dia dapat tahu pasal Nazlan punya benda ni. So therefore they wanted to build this, and what did they do? They apply to the federal court permission to amend dia punya application. Maknanya dia punya application dia is to appeal dia punya sentence. Now dia punya application is also now to adduce further evidence. So court kata okay, dibenarkan, you can change your application and we will hear it. So he did change. He was happy dia ingat dia menang dah. And lepas tu dia dengar, court dengar, court mana datangnya conflicted tu, tak relevan. So therefore court kata, we're not going to waste time, we're not going to even listen to that. It's not relevant. You want to adduce further evidence for what? It's irrelevant to your case. So benda tu rejected. So bila rejected, and dia plan that thing to be argued by Jonathan Laidlaw. Jonathan Laidlaw nak guna benda tu, nak dramatize benda tu and bagi create doubts supaya Federal Court declare a mistrial and order a retrial. This is what they were trying to achieve, to buy time. But Laidlaw pun tak allowed, tak ada basis. Apalah masalah tahu pasal law kita, and how could he be more intimate with the case of Najib. So tak relevant, court rejected. So bila rejected, no choice, tak boleh pakai Syafi balik, kena pakai Ziko, got to pakai another lawyer because it's now another narrative. Takkan Syafi dulu Arabian Tales narrative, tiba-tiba tukar narrative, nampak sangat lah kan. So from another perspective, Hisham Potek was supposed to deliberate and argue on Nazlan punya isu. Tapi bila benda tu evidence adduce, tak dapat, tak allowed to adduce, tak boleh masuk, rejected, Hisham Potek ada apa lagi? Potek lah, tak ada dah, nothing to discuss. Hisham cannot argue anything because he was not hired to argue on Najib's punya case. He was hired to dramatize the Nazlan punya issue so that there is a mistrial, so that people see something wrong with the entire prosecution, to discredit the prosecution and the judgment onto Najib. That is what Hisham Potek punya terms of reference were. Tetapi bila tak boleh, jam lah. So Hisham Potek minta cancel, tak boleh. So I already said it dah. The only person yang boleh lepas tu is jilat balik lah apa yang dia ludah, Syafi. Dah ludah Syafi, jilat balik Syafi. So Syafi came into the picture, try pula nak minta time extension, but Maimun and the gang is not in for it lah. Enough lah abuse the court. The court process has been abused. 4 tahun dah drag. So Najib had 8 months to prepare for his appeal. Tetapi apa dia buat? He went trotting, he went campaigning, he went to Singapore, he went for debates, he did all kinds of nonsense. Semua dia buat. Dia sibuk instead of spending time on focusing on how to defend, but dia tak boleh pasal apa nak defend lagi dah. There is nothing. Najib's case is indefensible. He knows that, his lawyers knows that, their lies dah terbongkar, finish. So therefore they have to create doubts about the judiciary, and benda tu pun kena block. So what did they do? They asked for 3-4 months tambah lagi because they want to come up to think what else to do and how to declare a mistrial. They wanted that, tapi tak ada basis. There was no merit and that was denied. So itu pun tak boleh. So therefore they decided to collect all the no and declines and rejection from the courts. Collect because to fit their narrative of the court being biased and unfair. And therefore Najib need to project to the Agong and to the people and to the world that he cannot get justice from the courts of Malaysia. There is injustice, gross injustice. The system of our judiciary fails to deliver justice. So therefore, go back to Zaid Ibrahim punya wording. Justice is a long journey. You can't get it here, you get it somewhere else. Somewhere else kat mana? Very kuning kan? Somewhere else is istana lah. So that is what it is. And you will see dah, sekarang ni dah dapat order to serve imprisonment. Melayu-Melayu macam semua dah mula Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Oh, dah banyak dah menangis-menangis. Dah semua ada yang dibayar, ada yang betul-betul sincere. Jadi now the process now is to rile up the Malay sentiments, the Muslim sentiments, to make Malaysians particularly go on an uprise, upset, angry, to lobby the PM to do another election, and so that when the time comes, a stooge of UMNO PM will go to the Agong and say, Agong, you have got to restore justice. There is unrest in the country and you have no choice but you have to lepaskan Datuk Seri Najib. Okay, just as Anwar was released, Datuk Seri Najib should also be released to restore justice. Banyak dah jasa dia pada Malaysia. 9 tahun dia Perdana Menteri. these are solid grounds for you to give a pardon. This is what they're going to go to Agong. What Agong will do after conferring with his brother rulers, this is something else. We don't know apa dia, because at the end of the day, this is so high profile, the whole world is watching. The kings, the Agongs, runs a danger, a risk of being seen as complicit with the biggest thief of the century. And if they appear complicit and they facilitate his release after what he has done, and we're still laden with trillion of debts having to serve, when other convicts of curi susu ke, curi ikan ke, curi tepung ke untuk anak ke, are rotting in jail still for petty thefts, this can create the anger of the rakyat. And if the Malays do not like it, and if the Malays object and abhor what the kings do, what the Agong does, that will mark the beginning of the Malays rejecting the royal institution. That will be the beginning of the Malays not wanting us to have sultan, and we will see us moving towards republic. This is something that the royals cannot afford to allow. This is something that if I'm the royal, I tak tidur malam. I do not want this to happen. I do not want to upset the tide. I do not want to be unpopular with the people. If people have so much misgivings, then better Najib stay in jail. Tapi kalau people ramai nak Najib keluar, then Agong also want to appease the people, royal pardon can come. So Najib punya team knows that. Their task now is to make banyak rakyat nak Najib keluar pasal percaya Najib innocent or Najib doesn't deserve to be inside the prison. Kalau ramai orang lobby macam tu, it become right for any Agong to grant a royal pardon. But syarat dia, BN must menang the election without PAS and without Bersatu. They must put their stooge to go to Agong and request for this. Just as Mahathir dulu request for pardon for Anwar, because everybody did not feel that Anwar should be in jail, that Anwar was wrongly persecuted, injustice, gross injustice all the way. So therefore, Anwar keluar. Same process they are trying to mimic for Najib. So except that in the case of Najib, judges punya judgment are made public. People will see what the details are and how well the media educate the public, how much people share their thoughts and what people write, how much voice notes or videos that are issued to clarify and educate people. This will be to counter Najib punya cyber trooper narratives that injustice is inflicted unto Najib. This is a battle of perception now. The battlefront is no longer the court. Even before dapat guilty verdict pun, Najib punya team was not after a win for the appeal. They know they cannot win the appeal. They know they cannot prevail in court. They wanted justice, their version of justice from the Agong. Itu dia nak. And they've been building that case since the start, when they started concocting fitnah unto Justice Nazlan. This is the whole game plan. So tadi I kata pendek, minta maaf tak pendek, I end up talking a lot. Banyak dah sekarang ni, but I hope I've clarified everything for the verdict. Kalau nak dengar, dengarlah. I've said everything that I wanted to say.